He destroy black boys. If you destroy him as a boy, he'll never become a man. He destroy black boys. If you destroy him as a boy, he'll never become a man.
For what he has, he says that the only way that we can solve our problem is to unite together among ourselves, among our own kind, clean ourselves up, rid ourselves of the evils that we've become addicted to here in this society, and try and
decent white folk that still don't know they're racist. Decent white folk that still don't know they're racist. Damn white boys out there. Most of them is psychopaths and all that. They'll kill your mama's mama and you.
To the east, to the north, to the west, to the south, above, below, and the middle. To the east, to the north, to the west, to the south, above, below, and the center. Greetings. This is Big Pontiac, and welcome to the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am the holder of the infinite sacred ball game that was created by the Hero Twins. And I am that one and only Galactic Daddy-O, welcoming each and every one of you to my galactic patio that reaches from Minnesota to the universe. And that's right, that's me. That is me, baby. And we back again. And tonight we're just drinking water. So pop them if you got them. And we're still going to smoke on the Luca, Unicorn Luca. There we go. Let that percolate and heat up. And so smoke them if you want them. I got something hot off the press, y'all. Let me find it. Yeah, so I guess I don't. Should have done something different. Oh, it's dying. Fucking died. I knew it was gonna die. I knew it was gonna die. What is this? This is not getting me in. But I think I can still use it. Let's see. This fucker kicked me out. So everybody watch the games tonight? Let's put it here. Games were kind of interesting. Oh, that's what I needed right there. All right. There we go. All right, so let's kill that. There we go. All right. There's a couple of things, but let's see if we can get to this story first. Here we go. All right. Where is this stuff at? Not, I'm gonna have to go to my phone. Ooh, and Silva was on tonight. It was good seeing him live again. Watch his newest. It is well worth it. Where's my local? Okay, it's got to be in here. That's there, so it's got to be right in here. Ah, there we go. Man, it's wild, man. It's wild. It's wild up here in the Great White North. You just never know what they're going to do here. So I got to show it. Check this out. I'm going to bet y'all didn't hear about this.
north of the metro.
Both officers survived the shooting, which happened in Wadena County in February of 2021. The two brothers died in a shootout. As Jonah Kaplan reports, former officers and deputies are pointing to this video as an example of the dangers law enforcement agencies face every day.
This is dash cam video from Wadena Sheriff's Deputy Troy Mayer, obtained by WCCO's partner Midwest Safety through a public records request. The edited footage showing the deputy conducting what investigators described as a routine traffic stop. The driver making every effort to get away, but gets stuck in a snowbank. Video then showing the deputy talking to the driver, who soon grows agitated and combative. At this point, backup arrives. Sabika police officer Jason Worm. But another car also pulls up to the scene. Now watch and listen as the traffic stop turns into an ambush.
Now, wait a minute. Two people are attacking one person, and yet a person comes to make the odds even. They call it ambush.
Shots fired! Both the traffic stop turned Worm, but another car also pulls up Jason Worm. But another car also pulls up to the scene. Now watch and listen as the traffic stop turns into an ambush.
CO News shows the moments two brothers ambush police officers.
Jason Worm, but another car also pulls up to the scene. Now watch and listen as the
No shots. Now, what I was trying to find was, did these guys, let me see. So what I was trying to find, did these two, like, did one of them see the other car? That was what I was trying to find. That's what it was making me think. Did they see the car? Because one of them kind of looked up. But let's go.
The traffic stop turns into an ambush. Shots fired! Both law enforcement officers were hit. Jason Worm alive.
Now he pulls out his gun right here. You see that? He had pulled out his gun. He's holding his gun right there. And I think they shot him. Yeah, they're right here under cover. And they look like they shoot him. See that? They're behind cover. That's the first thing they did is they ran behind cover. And they put him down. You see that? So watch. Yeah, you see where they shoot back. They see his gun and they're already being shot at. I say, good shoot.
Shots fired! Traffic stop turns into an ambush.
Now, realistically, the mistake he makes is not staying behind cover. Because again, his brother has, given him covering fire. So what he should have done is actually went back this way or stayed strategically behind the car here. Because as you see, he's totally exposed and they're behind cover. Again, he's going in rage, probably high, drunk.
Shots fired! Both law enforcement officers were hit. Jason Worm alive and
Wow, how many rounds did they get off?
fired. Both law enforcement.
One, is this correct counting? 23, 32. So 31, 32 shots maybe? At least 30 shots? Wow. Well, what do we see in this picture? We see 2 there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13. I only count 14. But again, this we don't know if this is evidence numbers. That's what this could be, is evidence numbers, a way to take pictures and show, evidence. So don't know if this is necessarily 32 shots. Don't know, but let's go.
Officers were hit. Jason Worm alive and unhurt thanks to his vest. Troy.
See that? That vest saved him.
Jason Worm alive and unhurt thanks.
Look at that. He was able to take the hit. Probably was a 9 or a 40. Because most vests are set up to take 9, 40s, 357s.
Thanks to his vest, Troy Mayer injured but survived. The driver who was pulled over, later identified as 42-year-old David Savella, was killed in the shootout, as was his younger brother Shannon, the man investigators say pulled up late to the scene and first opened fire. Now, 2 years later, both Deputy Mayer and Officer Worm making a full return to their respective positions.
I think my biggest takeaway is that it's just one more example that it can happen anytime.
James Stewart is the former Anoka County Sheriff who now leads the Minnesota Sheriff's Association. He says this incident underscores the delicate balance officers keep between being ambassadors to the community, but also remaining on high alert.
They understand traffic enforcement and taking dangerous people off the streets is a significant part of the job. And they have to do it in such a way where they go home to their families and remain safe.
Jonah Kaplan, WCCO News.
Crappy, dang. That's rough, y'all. That is rough. You see, living up here, you know, I got bears and cougars and everything, and coyotes I got to shoot at, and wolves. You know, it's tigers and lions and bears don't know up here. Dang. All right. Who? What's happening? Where are we at? What would we want to give everybody? We want to give everybody a ride on. We want to give everybody a ride on. J.R. Smooth is here because he has
got to have vision.
The one, Aggie Pride, is here because he has
got to have vision.
PJ Alley, my man, and 3,000 grand. You got to have.
Got to have.
All right. Oh. Damn, they was banging out in my brother's keeper and deal. Oh. All right. But thank you all for joining me. I remember the Kehoe brothers. This is what they did here in Ohio somewhat. A real bang out. Remember the Kehoe brothers? This is what they did in Ohio. Oh, don't get me on Kehoe. Let's look him up. Let's look up Kehoe. All right. John Kehoe. Let's look John up. Let's see, where could I find Kehoe? I think I talked about this a few years ago. Guy we used to get weed with. Let's see, where would I find him? That's probably on YouTube, so let's go back. Yes, yeah, we'll go back here. Let's see if we can find him. John. Let's see if we can find him. Yes, we can. Yeah, I think this is it.
You're listening to Fair Play.
Yeah, this is the guy that we used to get bud from. How long is this? I'm not gonna play all of it, but this is a real thing. This is a guy that I personally knew, and let's see how much of I can play. Okay, I'll let that play. It says John Kehoe, Fair Play. John Kehoe, 25 years. This has been 25 years. Justice for accuser and defendant and a missing girl.
The body, but he denied that he took part in the killing. In exchange,
let's start it again.
You're listening to Fair Play on JusticeNews.net.
Welcome to Fair Play on JusticeNews.net. I'm your host, Imran Siddiqui. John Ortiz Kehoe was charged with the murder of Rose Larner in 1997. Her family reported her missing sometime in December 1993. About 2.5 years later, Bill Brown, the younger brother of John's friend, fearing that police were close to making an arrest in the case, confessed that he was present when John Kehoe allegedly killed Rose and that he helped to conceal the body. But he denied that he took part in the killing. In exchange for his testimony against John, he was charged as an accessory after the fact. Bill Brown, the only eyewitness to the crime, served as the prosecution's main witness. John testified in his own defense. The two accounts of events leading up to the killing were similar in many ways, but John testified that he left Bill and Rose alone and that Bill Brown had killed her when she refused to have sex with him after multiple requests throughout the day. Bill Brown testified that John killed Rose because she was John's old girlfriend. She was obsessed with John and interfered with his other relationships, and she had damaged his truck on more than one occasion. Bill Brown further testified that John killed Rose while he watched. Together they disposed of the body, and the allegation is that it was a process that involved mutilation, incineration, cannibalism, and burial. And today,
You hear that? Cannibalism, burning, cutting someone up. Well, let's go.
today we're speaking with John Ortiz Keogh from Michigan, and he's live with us from the prison. Thank you for joining me, John.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time because it's really tough to give interviews from the.
Now, as I said, John, this was one of my best connects. Like, John had Southwest Michigan. I mean, when we was starting to really see a lot, I've had consistent connects, but John was it. I mean, I think we were getting pounds like this is when like pounds in Michigan were 1,000, 1,200. We were getting pounds consistently from John for like $800 or less if we bought more, but it was like, he was bringing it. He was the connect we had waited for a minute when he started hooking up, because what he was is, I always talk about my best friend Eric in Michigan. His brother was John's guy, and that's how we met John. And I'll tell you a funny story. When I was working at Mission Foods, I met a dude here that knew John. He didn't know all this. Well, he knew the other story, but he didn't know that John was also a big weed guy. And I don't think this is ever mentioned, but John was one that was pounds and tons of weed. Tons of weed.
Prison, and I understand the kind of things that you go through, so I really appreciate your time on this.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you for having me, and I know it's difficult because it's designed.
This is John. This is the guy that John says did the killing. This is Rose. Now, if any of you saw the Crime Solvers or any of that show they had years ago, they talked about this. And you know what caught them? The thing, because they couldn't find anything. Before this guy started telling, they found nothing. And what they did is they found like the just tiniest little splat of her blood on some old Paisley wallpaper. It was the tiniest little thing that linked them to her. And okay, let's go.
And to be difficult because they don't want us to get our voice out and reveal circumstances that transpired to put us in.
What I was hoping to know is exactly what happened that day from your mouth, so that we can lay out a scenario that's in some kind of a sequence, so that we can, it will help us in a way to put the story together and find out. So I'm going to do a memory recall with you. If you could just go back in time, it's going to be tough because we're talking about a pretty tough day that occurred for a lot of people, and a pretty painful day. So, but what I would request you is that you go back in time and you tell me and the audience what exactly happened prior to that event.
All right. Well, we'll have to start by going back to 1993 and who I was in 1993. I had returned from Florida. I went to college in Florida, and I had returned to Michigan after I dropped out of college. But I was still an aspiring rapper and producer, so that was what I was focused on at that time. And I was kind of like a local celebrity at the time as far as doing shows and producing rap tapes and traveling around Michigan and the Midwest, and but also at that time I was selling a lot of marijuana, and I was selling marijuana to fund everything I was doing as far as being an aspiring rapper. You know, I'd pay for my studio time with the money I made from selling marijuana, and that's how I funded all my transportation to get around. And so the night this happened, I was selling marijuana that night, and a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, his little brother wanted to ride with me. Now, his little brother was a guy by the name of Billy Brown. And Billy had paged me and told me that he wanted to ride around with me, so I went and picked him up. And we were going to Grand Rapids to sell some marijuana to my brother. Now, my brother went to college at Ferris State University, which is up north in Michigan. So the halfway point between Lansing and Ferris State was Grand Rapids. So he'd come down to Grand Rapids, and I'd drive up to Grand Rapids, and then I'd give him a couple pounds of marijuana, and he'd take it to college, and that's how he basically paid his way through school. So that day, I picked up Billy, and he had a girl he wanted to pick up to ride with us. So her name was Shelly. So we went and picked up Shelly, and the whole time on the ride, it takes about an hour to get there from Lansing. We went up there, and he was trying to hit on Shelly, but Shelly wasn't trying to hear anything that Billy was saying, was basically blowing him off, and we sold the marijuana to my brother. And, on our way back down, Billy got upset that Shelly didn't want to sleep with him, so he wanted to be taken home. So he, basically said, "Look, take me home. She's not doing anything." So I went to drop him off, and when I dropped him off, Rose was there. Now, Rose, everyone says, refers to Rose as my girlfriend, but really Rose was one of the home girls. She was one of the girls that would hang out with me and my friends, and we'd party together, and sometimes she'd go with us when we went to shows or concerts, and she was just one of the girls that liked to hang around. So she saw me in the truck with Shelly, and she was upset that she wasn't with me, and she tried to pick a fight with Shelly. So this is when I was dropping off Billy at his house. So I didn't want to anything to happen there. Like, I didn't want him fighting or anything, so I just took off. I left. So I went to take Shelly home, but while I was going to drop her off, my pager started blowing up, which means Billy was paging me nonstop. So I pulled over to a gas station and called him back to see what he wanted. Now, he was still revved up from the night trying to hit on Shelly, so he wanted to sleep with Rose.
All right.
So he told me that he had convinced Rose that if I came back and had sex with Rose, that Rose said that she would have sex with Billy too. Now, this isn't anything unusual because me and several of my friends, we partied with Rose, and she slept with all of us, so it wasn't anything that was unusual. But I didn't want to come back. But Billy begged me, come back, we can party. If you don't come back, she's not going to do it. So basically he ended up convincing me to come back, and I ended up coming back to his house. And I picked up Billy, and I picked up Rose. We were in my brother's truck at the time. He had my car, I had his truck, and we were just driving around, smoking weed, listening to the radio. And eventually, Rose and I started having sex, and we pulled over, and we were out in the country. We drove out of the city, and we were just driving down country roads. And we pulled over, and Rose and I began having sex. Now, while we were having sex, Billy was attempting to fondle her and touch on her, and she was, basically telling him, "No, get off me," So I ended up pulling Rose out of the truck, and, we were continuing to have sex out.
You have 1 minute remaining.
And while we were trying to have sex, Billy tried to insert himself in that, and she ended up biting his leg to get him away from her. So I ended up pulling her completely out of the picture, and we went to the back of the truck and finished doing what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after that was done, it was late at night. It was like 4 in the morning by then. So we were tired, and we were trying to decide what we were going to do and where we were going to go. So I had my brother's truck, and he had a key to my grandparents' house on his keychain. So I said, well, we're close to my grandparents' house. Let's just go there. Now, they were in Arizona for the winter because they live in Michigan. but they also had a house in Arizona where they lived during the winter. So we ended up going there because I had the key, and we got to the house, and I was kind of tired, so I ended up taking a little nap. I kind of fell out for a while, and Billy, he had some cocaine because he had had it the whole night, and Rose wanted to do some cocaine because Rose liked to do cocaine, and they started tooting a few lines, and I kind of fell out for a little bit, and crashed, and when I woke up, Billy was sitting on the ground, and he looked upset, and Rose was there, and she wanted to fool around some more. So I went to the bathroom after I woke up, and while I was in the bathroom, I noticed the liquor in the liquor cabinet, so I pulled out some brandy, and we were going to drink a little liquor, and I smoked a blunt. And eventually, Rose and I started messing around again, and Billy was watching and kept asking when it was his turn, but Rose kept pushing him off like, no, just relax. That's the kind of guy Billy was. He was kind of, full force on it all the time, trying to press the issue, but she kept pushing him off, telling him no, 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 and after Rose and I had sex again, we were laying there and smoking more weed, and I went to get her a towel or something. I went to the laundry room in the basement, and when I went to the laundry room to get Rose a towel to kind of clean up, Billy came back there, and he was high, and he was all in my face. Come on, she's not gonna have sex with me while you're here. She's just procrastinating, and Rose and Billy were friends long before I knew either one of them, so I didn't think anything of it. They've known each other for years. They got high together all the time. They hung out. So I was basically like, whatever, look, I'm going to go grab us something to eat, and you two can stay here. And when I come back, we'll go back to Lansing. So I came back out, gave Rose a towel, asked her if she was, good. At this time, Rose was still naked, so I didn't think anything of it. I said, look, I'm going to go grab something to eat. Do you want to come? She said no, she was fine. Basically, she wanted to stay back and do more cocaine with Billy. So I ended up leaving, and I went to McDonald's to grab something to eat, grab us something to eat. So I went through the drive-thru and parked in the parking lot for a little while I ate my food, just listened to music. And
Man, this is, I'm going to keep letting this play, but man, this is a trip story, y'all. This is a trip story. I mean, like, what the way it came down. Let's see if there's anything else about this on here. Not really. So, what's interesting, this is like, the way it really came down was, my friend Eric called me one morning, and he was like, man, they just got my brother. And I'm like, what happened? He was like, I don't know, but he said that, the sheriff's department, because he had was it a Shelby Mustang? He might have had one of them Shelbys. He had one of the few Shelbys that was in the area. And they had taken him and taken the Shelby. And so that was the start of, when we just lost contact with this cat. Because we had dealt with this cat for a couple years. I mean, this dude was so laid back. I mean, as I mentioned, he was my friend's brother's friend, and then we started being cool with him, and all of a sudden he was like clockwork. Like, it was like no problem. No matter how much we needed, this dude had it. I mean, he was like one of the major big players in the area as far as weed went. So now when let me see, what's Eric's brothers? Robert. When Robert got popped, that was the start of all this. Now, I would have to remember when Robert got popped, but Robert got popped, and then this happened. So I don't know if they were looking to get something on John, but Robert had got popped like one Sunday. They popped him, took what cash he had, took his car, and it was like we couldn't even bond him out. And so when that Sunday, then the next couple of days, this happened. Then the next couple of days, this happened here. So Let me see. Where we at? Okay. OTF, what is happening? What caliber do I prefer to carry? I prefer, well, like the way you got to really look at it is what's cool about having a snub nose, that they have snub nose guns that are 9s. And 9 is a relatively not heavy round to carry. It's like my P320 carries 22 rounds in each mag. So, and you can convert it. I mean, you can convert it. I mean, I don't think the mags take, I'd have to get 40 caliber mags because, you know, SIGs, you can put them in anything, in any platform, and it'll shoot any caliber. So, you know, it's just got to get the barrel. You just got to get the kit. The kit has a barrel. That's the cool thing about SIGs. Well, Glocks can do some of the same things. There's several different numbers that you know you can use to you know different ones. But generally 9s. Generally 9s. But yeah, PJ, John was the guy, man. I mean, really was cool, man. It was just funny how. Like all of us we was kind of getting over selling rocks and shit. You know, it was kind of like a fading kind of thing, dealing with it. You know, every now and then, but it was like when that came in, we didn't have to sell rocks no more. We wasn't even dealing with rock people anymore. You know, we wasn't even dealing with them. We was like, when we met John for those couple of years, we wasn't even selling rocks anymore. Didn't really need to. It was like we became the weed guys. And so that's how, you know, and I was always more successful selling weed than, you know, selling cane. I was always more successful. I mean, I just got lucky you know, at certain times I was able to get rid of a certain amount of times, but far as just generally what was more my thing, it was more weed. It was just easier. And that's what I was kind of known for both, but really weed too. And weed was really like, it was nothing to sell a pound of weed a day. It was nothing. And I don't even mean like selling bags. It was like selling ounces. You know, I'd sell, you know, it's only 16 ounces. No, yeah, 16 ounces in a pound. 8 and 8, yeah, something like that. So it wasn't hard to do. You know, half ounce here, quarter there. I mean, it's easy. Sell a pound. Buy a pound for $7.50. You know, roll up 16 ounces. That's $1,600 right there. So generally it was like $100 ounce. So $1,600 if you looked at it. And then if you start breaking dimes and little stuff, but it was just like a pound a day. It was really cool. And so rocks ain't cool. Hey, JC, what's happening? All right, well, we're going to keep going and learn a little more about Mr. John Kehoe, if y'all don't mind. It's hard to believe this was 25 years ago. I mean, wow. But we'll continue.
Then I ended up going back to the house. I can't remember exactly how long I stayed there. But I went back to the house and came in the house. And when I came into the house, that's when Rose was dead. You know, Billy was high. He was looking crazy. And I kind of blanked out right then. It was like, you know, I didn't know what to do. I can't really explain it, but it's like you just lose all your thoughts, or you don't know what's going on. Now, at that moment, I was young, high, a little buzzed still. Billy, he's my friend's little brother, but my friend at the time was a pretty big drug dealer, and the people they associated with were even bigger drug dealers, and they were all connected, you know, in the city and all the way down.
So was he. He capping. So was he. They was all on they was probably on the same level as him.
Into Mexico. And, you know, even though I wasn't a major criminal at the time, I was still dabbling in that world because I sold marijuana. So I knew people and I knew the situation. So basically at that moment, I had to make the decision of what I was going to do. You know, do I help this guy cover this up, or do I face consequences if I don't? And at that moment, I made the wrong choice to help him cover up what had happened. So we had took Rose and put her in the car, and we drove up north because he wanted to go to his property up north. So they had some secluded property up in northern Michigan. It was just out of the way of everything, and we drove up there together, and we stopped in Lansing once, and he went inside his house and picked up something, I don't know what it was, and he came back out, and then we ended up going up to his property up north, and we ended up burning Rose's body, and that's what we did up north on his property. After that, we were close to not really.
So he would that would be what are you, accessory to murder, or after the fact, murder after the fact, accessory after the fact. I think that would be called accessory after the fact.
Close, but closer to where my brother went to college. So we ended up going to his house where he was at college. And when we got there, he saw that we had switched cars. We had took my mother's car that was parked down at my grandparents' house, and my brother saw the car, and first he looked at us and he was like, well, what are you guys up to? And he was like, look, don't even tell me, I don't want to know. So we never said anything to him or to his roommates who were all there. There were a lot of them. So Billy had ended up crashing, and my brother kept saying, well, where's my truck? Why do you got this car? So I ended up driving the car back to get his truck and switched the car and brought it back up to my brother's house. And after that, we stayed there for a little while and ended up going back to Lansing. And that was the night of what all of this transpired. And from that initial time when I came back into that house, you know, everyone says, well, what happened in this? But, you know, it was, no one really ever said anything. No one really ever spoke about any of this stuff. It was just like everything was implied by what we did. And so there was never has been any conversation of what happened or who told someone what. And, you know, all this stuff was buried then. And it stayed buried for years, and no one ever spoke about it until 1995, when Billy's brother ended up getting indicted on a federal weed case. And I think it was 2,000 pounds, a conspiracy, and involved 2,000 pounds. He ended up getting indicted. And that's when everything started coming out, because all these guys started catching drug cases, and then they all started pointing fingers to get out of their drug cases. And that's when everything came to light.
Did the DA's office or the prosecutor's office ask you to point fingers?
Well, initially they kept, during this whole time, because Billy's kind of a loudmouth, so he was constantly telling people, you know, or leaving little innuendos of what he did. So during this time, detectives were coming to me and they were telling me, look, we know you didn't do it. Testify against Billy. Give us a statement, and we'll work out a deal for you. So I kept just telling them, I don't know what you're talking about. For all these years, I kept saying, I don't know what you're talking about. But one thing about the whole situation is, Billy's father was a local union rep for the UAW. So, you know, they had a little bit of political clout locally in the area. And the prosecutor who was investigating it, his name was Donald Martin from Ingham County. and his chief assistant prosecutor is a man by the name of Kim Warren Eady. And Kim Warren Eady is married to my stepfather's ex-wife. Now, my stepfather and his ex-wife had a bitter divorce, and my step-siblings were split between our households. So two of my stepbrother and sister lived with the chief assistant prosecutor. And then the other brothers, they lived with my stepfather, but they had moved out of the house by the time, my mother and my stepfather got married. But the divorce between them two was bitter, and she used to try to get him arrested all the time on false charges. Nothing ever stuck. They'd just come arrest him, bring him in, and they'd release him because she just filed false charges. Now, her husband was the chief assistant prosecutor of the case. So, this was a huge conflict of interest, and who would trust, plenty of people have been through bitter divorces now. Would you trust the person you divorced to have power over who they're going to prosecute? Of course not. But this is what happened in my case.
In one of the interviews, Rose's mom said that you once moved in, you guys are pretty close, and you were a couple. As far as I remember, that's what she said.
Yeah, that was a narrative they tried to push. Now, I stayed at her house once, twice maybe. Just slept over because we'd be out partying, and she'd be like, "Well, come stay with me." And I think I stayed over there once or twice. But that was a huge false narrative they kept pushing. Now, staying over there crashing at the house once or twice is me moving in. I mean, they got things confused, but that's definitely not what happened.
You never moved in, and you were like just laying around, playing with a lot of cash in your hands and guns in the house. This never occurred.
I'm sure I had lots of cash on me because I sold marijuana, and I had sold marijuana to Rose's mother because she smoked marijuana too. Basically, everyone I was around, was because I was in that lifestyle. People I hung around and were around smoked marijuana, so I sold marijuana, and I did carry guns back then.
Was it like that you moved into their house and lived with them for some time? Because according to Rose, you were homeless and she needed to help you.
Yeah, that's not the case, not at all. That was just a narrative that the media pushed after, basically all they did was they created this scenario which they were going to use as the case. And the media pushed that scenario. There was never any confirmation or independent investigation. The media never spoke to me, never tried to speak to me, or never looked into any of this stuff. All they did was relay the information that the prosecutor's office gave them. And that prosecutor was Donald Martin and Chief Assistant Prosecutor Kim Warren Eady. They were the ones that constructed this whole case. So they never really investigated into.
And remember, Kim Warren Eady, if I remember right, Kim Warren Eady was the same prosecutor that got White Boy Rick. Let's go.
The case and said, look, this is how we see it. This is how we're going to prosecute it. No, they got Billy. They were going to charge him. So he came forward and was like, look, I'll give you him. Just give me a 1-year deal. And they were like, all right. Then they constructed their case around his story.
Why didn't you take the deal?
Because by the time it got to that, I was so, this was 3 years this happened. Well, 2.5 years prior. Now, in that time, I had went from being a small time, just selling a couple pounds of marijuana, to I was distributing major marijuana. I've said before, I was selling around 500 pounds per week, which was a ton a month.
You hear that? He said he was selling a ton a month.
And I had moved out of Lansing. I was living in Chicago. And when it got to that point, I was so far involved in the criminal lifestyle that wasn't even in my mindset of doing that.
You left the state and you just moved on with your life?
Yeah, I had left the state completely.
Yeah, because according to some of the statements of Mr. Billy Brown, you were all around him. You were always there, keeping an eye on him. so he doesn't
which
speak.
is it's a complete lie. It's just more of their false narrative they push. And all of these, this is easily proved that it's a lie because, you know, I lived out of state. I moved out of state. They knew I lived out of state. And the people they were associated with, all you have to do is review the evidence and you'll see the people they're associated with. These are major criminals. And, you know, it's all come out since then because they've all been indicted. They've gone to federal prison. And it's all in the record now.
You're listening to Fair Play on justicenews.net.
Man, oh man. We'll give them a break. There's my son. There's my son, Cat Matt.
My bitches. You saying you can't control your bitches? What?
A false narrative, yeah. I mean, it was interesting. He said that the prosecutor, that was the same prosecutor for White Boy Rick, which I did not realize at the time. So, you know, this dude is pushing a ton a week. So this wasn't this was a heavy cat. I mean, and I mean, he was just the most nonchalant kind of guy. Like if we didn't have all the money or something, you know, it was like, you know, he's like, he come through and he done brought like 40 pounds. We're like, man, we only got money for like 30. He's like, all right, just, you know, we'll square it again. He was that kind of guy. So it was cool. You know, John was real cool. I mean, it was upsetting when everything happened. Because as I said, it happened when his brother got pinched. It was like just one Sunday, his brother got pinched. And from then on, all this stuff started happening. And it's so ironic that I ran into it. I don't even know how we started talking about it. But he said he knew a couple guys in Michigan. And John was one of the dudes he knew. And it was so funny. He didn't know all the hustling part. Or at least he was playing dumb, I guess. I don't know. But it was so ironic that I met somebody that knew John. Good night, son. Thank you for joining.
Hump, baby. Shit, bet I'd do it over time. Say that, nigga. Shit. Bet the ball. Off time. Shit, boy, I'm trying to make me some money.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-blowing that you meet people throughout your life and you know, how things, you know, we had nothing to do with all that stuff, but I mean, this dude was real and he was cool and it was like things were really rolling along well. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, your connect gets hit with this major murder case. And so, and Robert, God, I don't even remember what they got Robert on, but that's like for far as my business. Once they got Robert, that was like the chips fell from there. So, but I still remember that Sunday morning, he called me. He's like, damn, man, they just got Robert. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, man, they took his car. I'm like, how could they take his car? Like, under what? So we had to figure all that out. And then, you know, we never saw John again after all that stuff. You know, of course, we never saw him again. So, yeah. But he was cool. He was actually, I think, going to Michigan State. We can listen to a little more of it, but I think the cat was going to Michigan State is what I think. But got a little more. Man, I might need this to, let's see. Might need this to help me out. Here we go. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Probably a image. No, must be a video. Just seeing videos, I think. Says image, but thinking these are videos. Yeah. Is this the image? Is this not connected? No, all right, it's connected. Ooh, let's put this in play. There we go. That's probably why I was doing that. So I'm gonna have to try it again. Let's turn me up. All right. Okay, now let's try this again. Let's see. This is. No, should be right here. Yeah. No, that is not it, but I think it's in this group of pictures. Yeah. Oh, don't do this. Okay. It's this picture right here. Give me that one. It's not that picture. Oh, maybe it's this way. Nope, 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 nope. Oh, okay. All right. None of this. None of that. All right, let's see here. Okay, where is the pictures at? Just took two pictures. Okay, these are videos. That's a video. All right, don't want the video. Wait, was that it? Okay, so that must be the start of it. All right. All right, bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. Because it's no good if I can't. It's got to be right in here. No, no, no. I just took them today. Sucks. Oh, that ain't it. Well, never mind. I don't. I'm pretty sure it's not that. Okay, is any of these? It is not any of these. All right. It is. Huh. It's got to be in here. I just took this picture today. Keeps showing me this dress. Because I'm buying my daughter a dress. Oh, okay. It's not in this row. Let's see. Yeah, this is the same thing. This is the same thing. And it does not have what I'm trying to show. Well, let's see. Okay, I'm still on the dress, so I don't know. No, it's not a picture. Okay, I showed this the other day, but where are the pictures from today? Oh, well, I can't really show it, so let's find another way. Where is my search? Pontiac, what's up? Thank you for joining me. Try to show up and support when I can. Varize the native. Good to be here, my native family. Thank you. Those are very kind words. I appreciate it. Let me see. There's one more search I can do. Right there. All right. Let's find right here. What was his name? Get this right. Yeah. Here we go. Now, I don't know how many early pictures I can get. Okay, this will be good enough. This will be good enough. This is the picture I was looking for. Okay. Whoops, this is the picture I was looking for. This is this picture here. And this is, I think, one of the earliest pictures of basketball right here. This picture, like, he actually looks drawn in a little bit, where they would draw on the pictures to get more depth. But as you see here, this is one of the early outdoors attempts. Now, I don't know if a lot of you realize this, but this game still exists. You can go to most playgrounds and you'll see something similar to this, but it has, some have 2 and some have 3. So you throw the ball in the middle and they can go out 1, 2, or 3 ways. So you've all seen something like this still exists. There's still a game they play. Matter of fact, there's a handball game they play in England that is very much like this. Golly, if I can think of what that is and show y'all. But that is really interesting. It is a different kind of handball, but it's closer basketball, and they play with the hoop that looks like this. Again, this is Naismith. That's attributed to inventing basketball, even though we know that it was, the same thing was done into the Americas. So it says here in Dr. Naismith directs a custodian to track 2 basketballs to the balcony of the gymnasium at the YMCA training school. And the game of basketball is born. He had asked for boxes, but only perched baskets could be found. In 1884, a manufacturer produces the first basketball that appears to look more like this. This is just some rawhide covered with a bladder. See that? These are what the old balls look like. 1895, and this is, I went to this college this year. This is the first reported college basketball game. Hamlin College of St. Paul wins the first college game, defeating the Minnesota State School of Agriculture 9-3. There are 9 players on each side. A year later, the first 5-5 side game, University of Chicago will beat Iowa. So actually the first game of college basketball was here in the state. Let me see. In 1896, teams from Trenton, New Jersey and Brooklyn play the first pro game in Trenton. After being driven from its home court by YMCA ruling aimed at curbing rowdyism and unchristian-like behavior at basketball games, the Trenton side is forced to rent the local Masonic temple. The team takes out newspaper ads to promote the game and attracts enough spectators to turn a profit. The Trentonians win 16-1, and the gate receipts are split. Each player received $15. That's coding. It wasn't until 1897 that basketball teams are required to field 5 players to a side. And let's see. Where was the court? See if they show an old-fashioned court. Don't see any courts. Seems like one of the pictures showed me a court, though. Maybe not. All right. All right, check this out. 1898, 6 teams from the Delaware River Valley, including the pioneer Trentonians, formed the first basketball league, the National Basketball League, NBL. Players can earn $2.50 for games at home and $1.25 on the road. The Buffalo Germans win the first national tournament exhibition at the Olympics in St. Louis. Cooled, C-U-L-L, cooled 9 years earlier from an ethnic neighborhood on Buffalo's east side. That means copied. The Germans will become the first games dynasty, playing together until 1929, winning 90% of their games. So this German team, which was them peoples, the Germans, it was them peoples, had one of the first successful teams out of Buffalo, the Buffalo Germans. The Converse Rubber Company introduces the All-Star basketball shoe. Several years later, a former pro named Chuck Taylor would begin driving around the country, giving clinics and selling Connies out of the trunk of his Cadillac. In 1936, Converse will honor the game's #1 prophesizer by adding his name to the shoe in 1936. Chucks. 1925. Pacific High School, 159-game streak which spanned more than five years, ends in a loss to Hackensack, New Jersey. 1927, the Harlem Globetrotters begin with the 5 black players and Abe, a 5'3" Dem Peoples, climb into a Model T Ford and drive 50 miles from Chicago to Hinckley, Illinois for a game. 2 years later, the Trotters, whose uniforms Sepperstein has fashioned in his father's tailor shop. So this guy was a tailor. Introduced their fancy passing and ball handling routines. The Legerman is designed to entertain and not to alienate the local communities from which their oppression is taken, and thus assure return engagement. Creek High School in the Appalachian, the enrollment of 8 male students, captures the country's imagination by nearly winning the Kentucky State Championship. The Creekers lose in a tournament final to Ashland in 4 overtimes. After winning the New York mayor, Jimmy Walker, blah, 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 they build the Garden in 1931, the original Garden, which can hold 20,000 fans. 1936, Scholastic Coach magazine entitled The Athletic Fad of This Year. So 1934, pro basketball is looked at as a fad. Hank Luzziotti, bringing his revolutionary one-hander to the east for the first time, helped Stanford and Long Island University 43-game winning streak with a 45-31 victory in the Madison Square Garden. That's not basketball, huffs CY coach. If my boys ever shot one-handed, I'd quit coaching. But Bert Lurzetti's 15 points dominates the game. The Garden crowd gives him a standing ovation. Now, I remember I told you a story about John Wooden, and he's one of the few people that's in the Hall of Fame as a player and a coach. And he tells you when he played basketball in college at Purdue, after every time you scored, there was a jump ball on your end. So if you were taller and could win every jump ball, you could dominate. So the NAIA was actually created first. That's not the NCAA. This is the NAIA for small colleges. And then the first tournament was NIT, so that was in 37-38. And Central Missouri State defeats Morning College. The first National Athletic Association doesn't appear until 1939. It says right here, in the first College Athletic Association tournament, Oregon defeats Ohio State 46-33 in Eastern Illinois. It wasn't until the 50s that the NCAA surpassed the Madison Square Garden NITs. So you see, they had to have help to over-surpass something that was more popular. The NIT was the most popular, really up until, as I've said before, Jalen Rose daddy, Jimmy Walker. That was probably the last great year of the NIT, 67 maybe. Some other points I wanted to get in here. Okay, in 1946, see, they don't even mention what the Globetrotters book mentioned, that the BAA started in 1937. They don't mention that in this book. They mentioned in 1946, the BAA, the American Basketball Association. There's years later, the BAA 11 teams will absorb the 6 surviving BAL franchises. So, what year did they Yeah, yeah, they don't achieve the BAL until, well, actually, they try to say, yeah, here doesn't really, he skips over that. Doesn't really tell, yeah, doesn't really tell about the BAA. So, talks about Rucker. One thing I didn't know that I've always said that Will Chamberlain still could goaltend. Actually, I read it somewhere else, but in when did they start? They made him stop goaltending. Oh, and another part was fouls. When they first, okay, so first fouls was trying to stop the rough play. Then they gave 2 shots. So if you got fouls shooting, you got 2 shots. But when the game was first played, it didn't matter who shot. Now think about it like that. You get fouled, you get free throws. And if you make it, it's a jump ball after you make the second free throw. And if you can win the jump ball, you could score again. You know, the game was very slower. But I think it said 1944, goaltending was taken out of the game. And I didn't know that. It was another cat I wanted to see if you guys ever... Chicago's DeSable High School becomes the first all-black coach team to reach the finals of the Illinois State Tournament. The Panthers lose in the final to downstate Mount Vernon. For years, Illinois has been playing sleepy, blah, blah, blah. And then they've got the boys from Midland High, Tiny Midland High. Oh, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this cat. This is one of the greatest one of the greatest scorers of all time. You can look this guy up. His name's Clarence Bevo Francis of Rio Grande College in Ohio. He scores 113 in the game against Hillsdale. The Hillsdale player beat him to death. The sports writer who watched the game would say, but there was nothing they could do about the jump shot. They keep fouling him, and he keeps making them. This guy later played briefly for the Trotters, and he played for the Washington Generals that opposed the Trotters. But this guy, if you look him up, Bevo Francis, this guy's like almost averaged 100 points. Like this guy had multiple 100-point games. Now, again, this is 1954. He went to, because see, Hillsdale is a private college and is basically it's like Kalamazoo College, Division III. So some of his games, they were saying, wasn't quite colleges, and that's how they tried to demean him. But it's another story in here I want to read, and then I'll see what the people... This little book, it came in really handy. I mean, it's really it's phenomena in a lot of ways. I wish I could take more pictures and show you more pictures. Where's it at? Oh, here we go. Here we go. And perhaps the most storied schoolyard drunk ever, 6'2" Earl the Goat Menningoat, throws one down over 2 college stars, 6'5" Vaughn Harper and 6'9" Val Reed at a gym on 133rd Street in Harlem. Oral historians differ, but the shot is said to have begun at the foul line and included 2 full corkscrews. Revolutions in flight. I have personally never seen the equal, Harlemite Bobby Hunter will say, and I was in Detroit at the time. So actually, what they are telling you he did is, I guess this was his habit. When people would get on him, he would spin off them. So he jumps in the air, and the first guy tries to guard him and spins off of him. And then right behind there was another defender. He spun off of him while still going to the basket and dunked it. So he spun twice, 2 different times. This is reported, and this is the most sophisticated dunk ever reported of a man spinning twice, doing, 720 or 840. But it was so different because he went in the air and he spun off the first dude, hung in the air, and then when the other dude came in, he spun off of him too, and still was in the air long enough to damn dunk the ball. So that's the best dunk ever, reported. And that's why you hear, his name mentioned as one of the greatest leapers of all time. And it's funny going through these old pictures and looking at the shoes. And I wish I'd have taken more pictures, with Cindy Moncrief in college. Spud Webb. I was trying to figure out what kind of shoes Spud had here. So great color pictures. I mean, and this is like classic Magic Johnson right there. The look away pass. I said that he copied from Dr. Tucker. That's Magic right there. So a great little book. I mean, history-wise, what I gave you history-wise, I didn't, really realize what I had. And then it goes on to, it gives you the history of women's basketball. Women's basketball, so in 1893 was the first women's game. The players refer to the sport as the game from Texas. But in 1893, on the Rue de Vos in Paris, two teams played their first European game. The referee, okay. Two College Smith in Hampton, just north of Springfield, played the first women's game. No men are allowed to watch because the participants are wearing bloomers. The first women's rules influence Naismith himself concurred with Brer's belief, divide the court into 3 sections, forbid players to steal the ball from one another, and provide for the assessment of personal foul on any play leaving the section to which she is confined. According to the introduction of the rules, the number of girls who play without division lines have developed hypertrophy of the heart. Now, what that turned into is, like I was trying to, I've said before about Nancy Lopez and how she played in high school. What that turned into in some states, I've said this many times, women played a half-court game. So you technically had 2 teams. You had your offensive team and you had your defensive team. So if your defensive team stopped the offensive team, they would get the rebound. And though they could be pressed to half court, once they made it to half court, they passed it to the offensive team. And then the offensive team would just score. So if you just played offense, so that's how Nancy Lopez, she just scored. And then they shows in this book, Nancy Lopez was one of the only women that played in a few minutes of a pro game. So, just a little history. I love, as the holder, I've got to love it, Oh, Jaguar. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't give out the Jaguar transformational energy. I like to give out that transformational energy to everybody. Because the power of the Jaguar is in the Americas. And so this transformation is for us too. It's kind of trying to transfer in a lot of ways to your nature self. The wise Jaguar, the avatar of the Black Jaguar God and the Pantheon guard of the Time Lord, especially yourself, my fellow moderators. What's happening? I'm only interested in the high school and college leagues of football and basketball. Not a fan of the pros. James 324. Thank you, Bishop Macbone. And Jamar, thank you for joining. Yes, the lovable loser did get hurt again. He did get hurt again. But look at his whole narrative tonight. Look at Chris Paul's whole narrative. He was getting open shots, but think about it, that when the play, this is how you really can see how they fixed the game. When Chris Paul got open shots, the defenders for some reason went the other way, and he didn't trick anybody. Now, if you looked at when he got hurt, if you looked at the whole play, Chris Paul didn't even have to play defense at first. He did not literally have to play defense because his man, Caldwell Pope, was in the corner. And it wasn't until the play moved on and Caldwell Pope, he got it underneath. He tipped one. Remember, the play before he got hurt, he tipped one. Or did he get hurt on the tip? Maybe that's where he got hurt. He got hurt on the tip. Caldwell Pope, no. There was he got a basket on him before that. Then the next time, maybe that was the time he got hurt. And then, he pulled his groin. But remember, they gave him 2 or 3 open shots before then. So, Yeah. So yeah, he that seemed very, very fake. And just like I showed the Tony Tucker thing, you know, hitting the guy in the groin, and you can't say it wasn't real. I mean, he hit him. Now where he hit him, like I showed a video and talked about a video last week with what's his name for the Lakers. When he faked it, he got hit in the chest, and the first thing he does is grab his crotch. So they're told. So you know, I showed before, and I talked about this last week. They were told to be aware if they got hit near their crotch to fall out and grab their crotch. I mean, this is some kind of narrative they're continuing. This is some kind of narrative. When Schuler got hit, he got hit like way up here, and he grabbed his crotch. So they're told to grab their crotches on any kind of contact in the chest, stomach. They're told to grab their crotch. So I don't know why that narrative is, but that's what it is. But yeah, Chris Paul is just like, and this is what happens. What happens is why these bums stay in the league for so long. I don't know if y'all remember, they said that it was serious with Chris Paul because the owner or the general manager went into the locker room. Do you remember when the announcer said that? They said, it must be serious. When I saw the announcer, you remember the sideline reporter said that? Because Chris Paul, I think, is still the highest paid on that team. He makes more than Alden. He makes more than Booker, I'm pretty sure. Does he deserve it? But yeah, so yeah, you saw they gave him 2 more commercials this year, so you know they ain't winning nothing. Again, they don't like new teams winning. So I feel very, very, very sure that Phoenix won't win it. I could even look at I could even see the narrative being the Lakers. I could even see the narrative being the Lakers. And the Knicks. That's another narrative we could have from 70, what is that, 71 season. When the Knicks surprised everybody in the Willis Reed game, when Willis Reed, you know, played hurt. Well, I doubt he was really hurt. I ain't gonna say he played hurt. But, you know, the Lakers just rolled over. Wilt Chamberlain, okay, so Wilt Chamberlain destroys Dave DeBusschere and scores again 42. And then the next game against a hurt Willis Reed, you don't go at him. Jerry West gets picked by Walt Frazier, it seemed like 10 times. So it was, you know, a very fixed game. So that could be a narrative too we could look at. LA. But LA beat them in 73. LA came back and beat them. They're a very Knick team. They blew them out when they won 33 games in a row, which used to be 32, but they switched it to 33. Some kind of Mandela, they needed to change the numbers. But my reality, it was 32 games in a row, and I think now it's 33. So, but yeah, Brother Mac Bone, get in touch with me. I've got some ideas. I need to talk to you. I got some ideas about what you was talking about. And yeah, we can put it together. Whenever you get ready, I got to talk to a couple people. But yeah, we should be able to put something like that together. Giving you more than what you're funking for. Oh. Well, I think we want to hear a little more of John Kehoe. It's a trip. Where'd it go? Oh, did I erase it? Oh, didn't mean to do that. Okay. Oops. There we go. All right. I must erase this story. It's not up here. It's not there. Not there. Not there, not there. I thought it was here. All right. Oh, well, enough for Kehoe. Y'all understand. Brother Lorenzo, what's happening? Thank you for joining. Did you hear the Nugget crowds chat Nugs and 4 reminiscence of 2 years ago when the Suns fans around have beaten Nuggets fan and said Suns and 4? Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. As a matter of fact, what was it, last season or the season before where Alton beat them? Remember that? Where Alton caught that tip at the very end? I don't think he was supposed to do that. I am because and you know why I say that? I say that because of the reaction of Wilburn and Stephen A. Smith. I am pretty sure that was one time we caught where the team that wasn't supposed to win won. I don't think he was supposed to make that shot, and he made it. And I'm just saying, I was looking at the reaction of Wilburn and Stephen A. Smith, and they ain't reaction like the play blew their mind. Their reaction was the play might have not should have been. That's what I got out of that a few years ago. If y'all remember that Ayton shot, that's what I got out of that. Is like they wasn't supposed to win and they won. And again, they can always adjust, if it doesn't go the way they think. But isn't it funny? This is what they tell you. Like when it's a championship game, they tell you they get boxes of both. They get boxes of both teams. So both teams have boxes that say if they won the championship, they got boxes and hats. Now, one year they said that they donate to other countries the losing things, which to me, that would be collector stuff. That would be collector stuff. So I imagine they destroy that stuff. Because I've never seen a foreign person wearing, a year that the Raiders lost and they wearing the Raiders champions. You would think in all my years you just catch somebody, and like all the people they show from Mexico coming up, you would think somebody had one of these kind of jerseys, But so they probably just destroy the stuff, I'm guessing. So, well, gosh, let me look Keyhole back up. Because that was bogus, y'all. Took it away. Not there. Not there. I need it here. Okay, I can get it here. Yeah. Let's bring him back. Let's bring him back. Here we go. Because I got to pee and walk around. So yeah, let's bring John back in. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. I think this is where we left off while I go to the bathroom.
Welcome back to Fair Play. I'm your host, Imran Siddiqui on JusticeNews.net. And today we're speaking with John Ortez Kehoe, who is fighting from inside the prison in Michigan against what he calls his wrongful conviction in 1997 for the killing of Rose Larner. John has spent 25 years behind bars, and they say he has no chance of getting out, no chance of parole.
If you don't mind, I'm going to take you back to that night once again.
All right.
If you could tell us a little bit about your relationship with Rose.
All right, yeah. Let me see. I met Rose through Billy. Billy is the one that introduced me to Rose, and Rose knew who I was. She saw me at a show I did at a local club in Lansing, and that was the first time she saw me. But I didn't remember who she was. Or I don't even remember meeting her.
What year was that?
That was 92. I think it was 92. 92 or 93. It was somewhere around there, because I came back from college in 92. So it had to be late 92 or early 93.
So you had known Rose for about a year and a half before she died?
I'd say a year.
Okay.
Yeah. When she saw me at the club, I didn't meet her or talk to her or know her. She just saw me. It was when I was doing a show, because like I told you, I was a local artist, and I'd perform at clubs and different venues around the state. And I had tapes in the store that I used to sell. This back when they had cassette tapes, and I used to sell tapes, and I also sold them out of my car, out of the trunk of my car. And, that's what I was doing. So she knew who I was, and she convinced Billy to introduce her to me. So he called me, and that's when I met her.
All right. So you've known Rose for about a year or so, and then we go back to the same night. So what you were saying? Go ahead.
I was going to say the time that I knew Rose, it was basically us party, and she was more of a party girl. Rose liked to do drugs, and she liked to party, and she partied with me and many of my friends. She was just basically one of the homegirls that hung around us. People testified to this, that no, that was what he was saying about himself. But if you look at the physical evidence proves that it didn't happen, because they tore up that bathroom from top to bottom. They tore up the drain from inside the house to outside the house. They pulled out everything, and nothing was in that house. They didn't find luminol, didn't test positive. There was no hair, no trace evidence, nothing. They tore it up, scoured it, nothing. And if he said, if what he said truly happened, they would have found something. We all know the truth about forensic evidence now, and there's no way what he said happened could have happened, and then they wouldn't have found something.
What about, didn't see any blood?
No, I didn't see any blood.
What kind of situation did you see Rose in?
She was gone. At first I didn't know if she was just knocked out or something.
Where was she?
But on the bathroom floor. As soon as I walked into the house, the bathroom's to the left, and she was on the floor in the bathroom.
Inside the bathroom?
Yes.
Was she facing
and
up?
then there was, no, she was facing down. And then there was a bunch of commotion because I didn't know what to do, so I kind of backed out of the bathroom, and then, we kind of jostled around a little bit because he was trying to keep me out of the bathroom at first. And then I left. I walked down the hall, and I didn't know what was going on.
Did you ask him what happened?
Yeah, of course, but he didn't say anything.
He didn't say that he did it?
No.
What did he say?
He never said he did it, or I did this, or I did that. Never.
Yeah, but man,
never said that.
I mean, this girl that you guys were just with, I mean, you would have some kind of feeling for this girl, right? I mean, you see her dead. You would want to grab the guy and shake his ass and ask him what the fuck happened.
That's what we were, it was kind of a back and forth like that.
Did you punch him, beat him, grab him, put him down?
No, I didn't.
You didn't start screaming at him? Then why did you kill him?
We were yelling back and forth. We were both screaming at each other.
Did you see anything that he used to kill her, allegedly?
No.
Okay.
No. This all happened. It seemed like it couldn't have happened too quick, but it seemed like, I don't know, it's just like everything was distorted at the time. It's hard to say, and it's hard to think back to exactly what happened. Like everyone wants to pin down, well, exactly what happened, but I don't know if you kind of, if you're kind of in a daze, or if I.
Damn. Thank you. Oh. Back up.
I don't know if you kind.
Thank you, Mac Bone Files.
Shit, boy, I'm trying to make me some money.
Thank you, Mac Bone Files.
Shit, boy, I'm trying to make me some money.
Nuggets could do that too. Nuggets and Suns split 4 games against each other in the regular season. Nuggets won 2. It will give them 6 wins. The Nuggets have a cipher of 62. Very good work. Very good work. Oh, very good work.
Hump, baby. Nigga get mad. Say, motherfucker.
We don't need too much of that. But we'll catch up with the rest of that on another time. It just shows you that, because the whole story is they supposedly cooked her, because the other dude says that they cooked her, that like they built a massive fire, they burned her and then they cooked some of her. And he says that they both ate it. And he said it was John's idea to do all that. Now remember, listening to it himself, John tells you he's a major weed dealer in the state. Now, if you listen to me any time, what did I tell you was also going on around those periods was NAFTA. When they put NAFTA in, NAFTA's trucks for a while was not checked. And so it was like everything was coming up north. Man, most, I can't say for cane, but it seemed like that shit was around as much as ever. But for weed, for sure. NAFTA, weed people benefited from NAFTA, especially NAFTA coming out of Mexico. And as he said, this dude is, he's doing a ton a week. So do you know the kind of network that takes to supply you with a ton of weed a week? And how bulky that is? A ton, it damn near fills up. It damn near I was going to say it damn near fills up a truck, but not quite. Just depend on how they press and everything. But it could fill up a truck. I mean, so it's not an easy task. It takes a lot of tentacles. Takes a lot of tentacles to make this kind of thing happen. And as I said before, this dude was cooler than cool. Like, I mean, you can just go to somebody like 40 pounds, boom, got you. 40 pounds, 20 pounds, boom. I mean, everybody wasn't like that. It'd be some people 3, 4, but a dude that all of a sudden could every week, you could count on getting 30, 40 pounds. I mean, do you know how quickly, like I said, when I had the friend and he had about, I forget, he had a garage full. So I still say it probably was like maybe 100 pounds at the most. Trying to remember. His garage was literally full of weed. And I sold all that, and it took me like weeks to sell that garage. So a few weeks, I sold all of it. I emptied his whole garage full of weed. And, he never, after that, he never went back again. He never had it like that again. It was just like whoever he got it from, and he called me, he's like, I don't know how to get rid of this. And it's funny, when I do these little stories, all my old friends call me. It's like, hey, we caught me. It's like they know when I talk about this hustling stuff. They give me calls, and they're like, hey, you still know so-and-so? You still know so-and-so? So-and-so still, you still know so-and-so? It's just funny, I get those calls. Like, nah, I don't know nobody no more. I'm not bothering him. Oh, man, you know him. What does he say? What does he say? You have to stop. Here we go.
Your lines are still open.
That's what they tell me.
Your lines are still open.
That's what they tell me.
Your lines are still open.
I decided to be I decided not to be a life coach, also a boxing coach, master teacher, and for Black youth. That's positive. That's really positive, Bishop Magbone. But call me or email me, and I'll shoot you my number again if you don't still have my number, because I got a couple ideas I want to go over with you. And yeah. Because there's some high occult stuff that I broke down. I'm gonna order the book tomorrow. It's gonna take a couple of days. Well, books is hard. Books take a while, but I'm gonna break down and order it tomorrow, and then I might have some of this stuff loaded, but maybe not. But I'm gonna load this stuff too, and show everyone how to use this. So that could be like, Bishop Magbone. That could be like we could do one of the first shows. Is gonna be when I get the book, or we can have it the show before. But what was the book called? Because I was just looking at this book, I was like, ooh, they gave this to me. Because there's keys in all of it. Yeah, the Magician's complete tablets. And I guess I can transfer it over here. I probably got it over here, and so I can show the tables and stuff. But I want the hard copy too because there's more energy in the hard copy. But and if you don't have that PDF, I can shoot you that PDF, and I'll try to get the PDF where I can put it over here. I think it's over here, but I just got to find it. And I want to go over this book because to show you what they've done and how they did it and how they're still tuning it. Like when you look at a book like this book tells you how they're tuning to this day. And that's the thing you got to get out of Dark City is they tell you how to tune. And tuning is really like if you think about self-healing, that's a part of tuning is self-healing. And just from my brother's study of this information and what he relayed and just my studying, I think I kind of figured a lot of how they tune. Sure, we the three initiates, you, me, and Sly. We need to talk about occult, interdimensional welfare. We can do that too. And that's, that's funny because that goes both ways. It's like, I know times in my life, my ancestors didn't want me to be corrupted. And it wasn't the force I always thought. I always thought there was a force out there was really trying to hold me back. But I now I look at it, a lot of this came from my ancestors trying to protect me and didn't want me to be corrupt. And so a lot of instances that I would have changed things a whole lot for me. And I think they had a hand in because it would have been very easy, if I would have stepped into the next level, I would have, been into the illusion. And I think it helped me not going into that next level and then, signing myself away or even my family away. Because that's what the contracts have been for a long time. It ain't just you. That's why I was saying with Boston, don't forget about Boston Lakers or Boston Warriors, but especially Boston Lakers. And, them losing that PR lady during the playoffs, that's a big kind of like, I don't know, it's a big sacrifice this late in the year. So, yeah. So we'll see how it turns out. God, there was a couple other things that's happening in the world, but Kehoe kind of took over. And I don't even think PJ was talking about that Kehoe, but it made me think of John. I have to look at other stuff of him because it's other stuff you can find about him. But it's just mind-blowing that was 25 years ago. Wow. That's just mind-blowing. But, what they say, time doesn't sit still. Keeps on ticking. Keeps on pushing. Trying to suppress the hiccups. Oh, I didn't do it. There it is. I didn't do it. So there can be a lot of hands into that. Oh, okay, it's gonna be in my stomach. There can be a lot of hands into that kind of warfare. And the other problem is it's like whose illusion do we live in? And so when they come through, like what illusion do we live in? And so are they really coming in to save? Because again, if they're coming into this, they have to come into this space. They're coming from outside of this space. But like what is their power compared to the creator of this space? That's the other part. Because they would have to be, some kind of some type of hesitation too, because what if they're, they're not, they have to move in a certain way as well, because they don't, just because they can go interdimensional doesn't mean they're all powerful. So they might have enough technology to move into our realm, but obviously they don't have enough power to overthrow it. And again, they're visiting into something else, not created by them. Self-healing comes from mastering the sacred breath of life. Ms. Joe, thank you for joining. Oh. The American European system is an expansive and intricate illusion. Yeah. And the illusion is not as old as we think. And there he is. And the illusion is not as old as we think. And I do thank the mud flood people for that. That to me, like, if you look, one of their main things was saying that the civilization is not as old as what we perceive. And that is very well put. And so this reality really, because as I always talk about the trees and how, the first war was against the people that was on the East Coast and the West Coast. Those were the first wars. And then there was the war against the trees. Once the Europeans were firmly established here, the war began against the trees, where they wiped out the trees. Now, that also had to change quite a bit. From especially a chemical standpoint, you had all this natural, beautiful air, and then all of a sudden, you wipe it out. So it did, so the land even, the reality of the land even changed. Because it was almost like a virus. A virus is the thing that just, destroys as it goes across. Uses what natural minerals it can absorb. And that's like a virus. And that's what we saw. Hiccups are succeeding a little bit. So if you even go historically, like how events like war is easy to change what comes after. Because again, what do they always say? The victors write the stories. And we know they destroyed the South in a lot of ways. They destroyed it. So that old system was gone. So this is a reality that they built since the early 1900s. Like late 1660, 1860s to 1900. And we know the corporation came in right before the change of the century, where the 10 acres, 10 by 10, turned into a corporation. Which really came from, they would never be attacked again. That's what it was, because remember, I've said this many times, if you understand the Civil War, the South wanted to fight DC, not the whole North. It wanted to fight only DC. And DC had to put up enough propaganda out there to convince the other states to help DC. Because that's who they went to war against, the federal government. If you look at the papers, it says they want to go to war against the federal government, not the northern states. Trees are expensive. Respiratories of very ancient cosmic celestial knowledge and wisdom. Again, when you think of amber, I mean, this is one of the most grounding grounding minerals that, in our mineral world. And this is can connect you to the ancient, the ancient trees. That's why it's good to wear amber, because it connects you to that. And I've always had a thing with wood. I want wood all around me. My desk is wood. I have this, I love wood. I've got little wooden tables all around me, touching wood. Got little wooden tables all around me. So I have I love wood. And what's funny is wood, this is what's interesting to baby boomers, which includes my age. Wood meant a lot to us. Hand-built wood meant a lot to us. We saw a lot of value in that. We helped create the antique business that at one time made these antiques quite expensive. But the sad thing about the baby boomers is the other generations, especially like my oldest son, who's about to be 34 this year, and my son 28. Though their generation couldn't give a damn about this wooden stuff, these wooden cabinets and stuff. They couldn't give a damn about that stuff. To them, they don't want stuff like that. It's no value. And as the people that once valued this wood and stuff are getting older, you're seeing less and less value of this stuff. The value is just not there. The appreciation of hand-built wood is just not there anymore. And some of it is, big as hell. Some of these buffets and shit is big as hell. Was powerful conductor of life for us. Indeed. I'm trying to get through these hiccups. So it's another thing that, there's a reality put on top of what used to be. So that changes the reality right there. So new reality is on top of it. Oh, excuse me. Wow. There's air in my stomach. Where did I do it? Oh, there. Whoops, sorry. The magic staves of wizards, magicians are made of wood. There you go. And, I always talk about the stories, Lord of the Ring, they show the talking, walking trees. Wizard of Oz shows you trees that are alive, that could move their arms, kind of like us. They couldn't really walk in Wizard of Oz, but again, they could talk, and they could bend over enough to grab stuff. So the history of trees being alive and the history of the water tree. So these are things that have existed for a number of years. And, I've often talked about a reality that I personally lived in, being born of the trees. When you had the three different degrees of reality, when you had the first elders. See, when the world was young and new, before whatever started covering it or ever could live on it, it was just made up of just a black goop kind of liquid. That's all it really was. It was just a black goop kind of liquid. And the first type of life forces around it was just able to survive in it and make anything they wanted out of it. And of course, as the world expanded, the need for something a little more solid was needed as the land came and evolved. And the first entities that wanted a more solid type of world, they kind of molded it. And but they still kept the waters surrounding it. The waters still existed as before, so they were still, you know, this blue stuff wasn't even there, despite it, you know, the sun being what the sun was. That's why it was, you know, the older waters, the ancient waters, look more like oil or whatever shoots out. I can't say what it is when it's, you know, after it's refined, but before it's refined, that appears like it's the ancient waters. And so when the beings were born from the trees in the Papaival, they're one of the few civilization that talks about the people being made out of trees. They talk about, you know, the Noah Ark kind of thing happened to the trees, that the tree people were too wicked. But again, that comes from, you know, as I mentioned, it was three type of entities. It was the first entities, then the entities of the trees, and then the entities of what they called the land dwellers. And so that comes from, you know, a story telling that the trees were wicked. When in fact, you know, the trees were never that. And even the first entities that live around our earth to this day, that's why they try to tell you heaven is really that. Is just really the first kind of entities that came here and still operate around here. See, that's the other part is, you know, there were entities that would come here and just try to naturally, even before what the Europeans did, you know, others came here and just to steal the natural resources and had really no real, well, no real source of building. You know, you see these stories, you know, of the Borg and stuff. They just want to come and steal from planets. And then those wars, how they had to stop them from, you know, stealing these natural minerals. But again, that was much way after the period. I'm talking about the time of the trees. And the time of the trees, literally the trees were covering the earth. The trees went into the space. And then the life that came from the trees, it was still the same, a lot of the same animals, because it was so much. The trees were so vast that the trees were like the vines, or yeah, the not the vines, but the roots. Like a lot of the roots were just intertwined between the trees. So it's a lot more of a solid floor between the trees. Were this civilization that lived just amongst the trees, with the animals that lived in the trees as well. And that's really where they get, you know, the family tree. Because the way the civilization was built is you came from a certain branch. That was kind of how the clans, or whatever you want to call it, it was like that was truly your branch as the people where you came from. And it was so interesting. You actually had a place that was like a cutout. The way the people slept, they slept like in a cutout. And I guess that was kind of Borg-like too, where they had their little pods. But that's kind of how you slept. You slept like in almost a wooden cutout. But still played the ball game, still plenty of space to run, hunt. But the one thing that seemed like more than enough was the water tree. That seemed like the only nourishment that the people needed. It was just some natural flowing ambrosia, I guess. And that seemed to be the only substance the people needed. I said hunting, but I don't know. I can't really make that clear. I think I'm speaking a little ahead of myself. But it was a totally civilization. And as I said before, there was a third civilization, and they were the dwellers that dwelled on the grounds, underneath the trees. And they had their own civilization for years and years and years. And what had happened is that civilization got hit with a major flood. And the tree people were able to save them. As I said, the Papaival talks about, you know, the flood killing the tree people, when in reality the tree people helped the dwellers. And they took them up and set them up all over the world, wherever they were. And they lived in the trees. And as I've said, each entity knew of each other. But just as the communication, sometimes it's hard to communicate, and it's hard to truly understand. It's like it was hard for the grounders to really comprehend what the people that lived in their atmosphere. They really didn't comprehend that. They knew it was there, but they didn't know how they could physically do it. And despite getting their own area, their civilization saved, they felt bitter because the highest entities did not offer them to go there. And they kept their bitterness towards them. And after their lands cleared and they were able to go back to the dwelling in the lands, the water brought, and maybe it was gold. Maybe it was gold. The water subsided, and maybe it was gold that they were able to find. And from finding this, they started destroying a lot of the trees to clear the land to find more of this gold. And that was the start of the war. Of the dwellers in the trees. Do you have books on the power of the black jaguar god? No. Not in the question that you ask. It's in so many other books. It's like another thing to hip yourself to also is the term Yani, the Yanu Yani. That is another powerful being that lived amongst the South Americans. And so the black jaguar consciousness was also in the Yanu Yani. And again, the Yanu Yani was able to manifest, again, being able to transfer into dragons or the Quetzalcoatl, and even being able to go through the mountains and going in, through solid rock. So this was another power. And so it's like you can get so much of this information, and it's like, bits and parts kind of, tell you. But one book that just studies that, no, I haven't been able to find anything like that. Because a lot of that's suppressed as well. And like, I've said before, and I guess, let's see if I can bring it up. Is it over here? Oh, okay, there's John Kehoe. I guess I could bring John back. No, but I want to bring up this. Let's see if this will come up. Kinda, sorta, not really. Because what I'm looking for, because we have several instances. Now this is Taptakodan, the mirror that smokes anxiety and trouble follow in his wake. He also known as Tatakawan, he who slaves we are. He was the warrior god of the north. God of sin and misery with obsidian knife, the Toltec mystery. But again, looks like a jaguar. He has the jaguar outfit on. See? This is the jaguar mask costume. Well, did that give me anything else? Let's see what else they gave me over here. Okay, right here. This is Zakatol, god of the evening star, evil twin of Quetzalcoatl. Let's see. Look at this. This is the true Lucifer is Sophia. Her name is let's see. This is not the breakdown I was looking for. Right here. This is part of it. This is what. Okay, when I show you this, this transformed into this. This is the war god Talalak. And all these images of Talalak through the years are still nothing more. It comes from this. So this here transformed through the years. They used the energy different. Instead of calling it the Jaguar God, they started calling it the Thunder God. You see these representations of Talalak, Shalalak, the rain god. And it all comes from, the Jaguar consciousness. That's what it turned into. I was looking for, they show there's a diagram that goes through it that shows the different transformations. And that's what I was hoping to find. And it's not, but it shows you the transformation that came from, the Jaguar consciousness that turned into the rain god. Turned into this. How do I save this? I like this. Oh yeah, save it. Okay. I like that. Again, you see it in the pottery, the rain god. See? Once again, rain god here. Well, what else did that bring up? And so, the rain god, other than Quetzalcoatl, was one of the most important gods because, again, maize was so important to them. So this became their most important god. See? Have a smoke and a smile. Thunder god. See? Thunder god. That comes from the Jaguar consciousness. So there we go. What about books on, do you get that email of mine about the 9 principal tributes of Black Panther Jaguar? I think so. That's the original superhero, the Black Panther, the Omen creation. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Because what I was talking about, it's right here in this book, and I was looking for something else the other day to show, and I ran across it, so it's in here somewhere. And it's just so much to learn and to enjoy about this stuff. I mean, the more you're into it, because this is not studied or used. I mean, where am I? There we are. All right. Yeah, so this stuff is not really studied. And this is an example. When you meditate on certain things, like any of you tonight, if you go out there and meditate anytime after you get done watching me for however how long, what you'll see is at night, there's a lot more competition for the energies. And it's not the competition for energies, but you see the space. You see the space is more compact. And to give you ideas, like say you meditate in the daytime. In the daytime, there's a lot, it's a lot freer because you don't have a lot of the same energies trying to be in these same spots. The energies kind of dissipate during the day. But it seems like at night there's more people trying to tune into this energy, and the dream world is, coming into it too. But, when you start getting into this kind of stuff, the South America stuff, there's not a lot of competition for it. Now, as anything, there's suppression. They want to suppress it. That's why you have a lot of the Mexican cats saying, trying to take the white Latino kind of thing to create false division. Here it is. Oh, I had a place mark for it, and I'm sorry I can't find it. It's in Pinterest. I'd have to go through my things, but so as you see, the transformation starts here. See it? Okay. And it goes, as I was showing you, it goes up to the talak. So you see it, both sides, how it transformed, but it all comes from the jaguar consciousness. So you have both lines. And so later when you see, I don't know if it's enough mask in this one. What I'm looking for, because I can probably find this part on Pinterest. Oh, right here. Okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for. So, again, we see this is really you could almost say this is one of the omen gods as well, because this is straight Mayan. This has nothing to do with Aztecs. But if you look again, it's that Talak. You see? You see how Talak has transformed into the rain god, or the were consciousness. And he's feeding the corn. If I could find the Eight Wind Deer book, I don't know if there's any pictures, and there's no color pictures in this book. So, but my point is about this is what's really cool is when I tap into this stuff, there's not a lot of people tapped into it. And it's like, I told the story before, I've got this picture of this person there, the great Bakal, sunflace flower of Planeke, who's also Oracle. When I tapped into him was like, and it was with this very, pendulum. I took this pendulum and I was like, am I a Bakal? Have I reached that stage yet? And the pendulum said no. And because nobody really taps into this stuff, as I say, I also have the ability to see shapes and faces in trees, like in the leaves. I can see faces in leaves. And he appeared in one of the leaves out there. And it's like nobody taps into this. And it's like, I think he looked at it as like, man, you're tapping into this. So he didn't want me to be discouraged. It was like, that ain't the answer. It was like, what he said in iRobot, you asking the wrong question. I didn't ask the right question. But yet, there was something about this energy that wanted me to still be in this energy more and more and more. Whereas the Oracle was like, hey, the Oracle had to get in and it's like, man, we need to get your attention. So you keep looking at this stuff. And you think about this stuff every day. And that's the only way. See, that's the only way you can really make it work is you do it every day. I mean, that's what you gotta, you look at Zach. Zach does the gematria every day. That's his thing. He lives that. And that's how you become an expert. And that's how, you see it more and more in general life. And you can break it down. You break down the story and where the story is coming from and how the story is relevant because of some other event. And that's where, we all work together. Instead of trying to fight each other, we all work together. Like Lorenzo here is probably the best that has consistently come here. And I'm not trying to say, but I'm just saying he consistently, puts out the gematria for me. And that's what it takes. It takes, there's truths in all this stuff. It's like all this stuff is true and fake at the same time. Oh, the hiccups left me. Maybe I can chew up my cigar again. Hey, Key, what is happening? Thank you for joining. Yeah, I'm still getting adjusted to Black Jaguar Panther medicine power. I'll tell you though, to be able to transfer, as I said, I've been able to ship shape into Jaguar and ship shape into a Eagle, and I would dare say I enjoy the Panther better. I don't know, the flying. I don't know. I guess I like the physical challenge that a cat has to take compared to what a bird has to take. And I even honestly am quantifying. Honestly. Just because I say that, you're going to believe me. I'm quantifying and shit. But anyway, I guess the only way I could really say it is, I would say it was more my nature to be a panther than to be a bird. I guess that's the best way to say it. It's like being the bird was cool, but and soaring and stuff and, taking care of the family, but it wasn't like being on the ground, being a panther. I physically enjoyed that better. So I mean, it's how deep you want to tap into it. It really is. Because the transformation isn't just for someone to shapeshift. The transformation is, like I said before, is like what I call the ninja pimp. Or as Pomo calls it, Iceberg Slim Lit in the Lit series. And really what it is a person that can move in and out. Wherever he steps into, he gets along. And he can play the many different faces and sides that it takes to be successful and get along. And I don't know, I guess it's like I look like the beauty that it took to make this knife. I mean, the skill, this is a handmade knife. There's no knife exactly like this one. And the beauty and the thought that it took to build this. And I like little things like this. Like even the jewelry. I mean, this comes from an artist. I mean, jewelry comes from an artist. There's someone that had to sit down and design this and then find the right stones and the right settings and the right amount of gold to put it together. So I'm also representing those artists, because art just don't hang on your wall. This kind of stuff is living art. And not permanent stuff like tattoos. It's living art that you can mix and match this energies to what you need to make you function. Oh, thank you, Bishop Mack, for the $5.
Shit, boy, I'm trying to make me some money.
Thank you. What was that? Oh, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I have to realize I'm going to need to get my body in peak physical condition to physically manifest the Black Jaguar medicine power. I weighed myself today. I had got down. I've gained about 10 pounds more drinking beer, but I'm still just as active as ever and walk a ton every day. Matter of fact, I got the rope back out. I washed the car, got the rope back out, and was doing the rope. And I'm gonna do, I do the lip weights, I do the inclines, on this. I'm going to get my bench, bring my bench over. Hopefully, be able to bring my big picture over here that shows everyday magic or how, represents how magic is. So, but thank you very much, MacBone. That's very kind and generous of you. But I got some ideas from what you was talking about, and yeah, we can go at it. But it's funny, like a lot of things, it's hard for people to comprehend, and what I try to look at is how can I explain some of this stuff, because for a lot of people, like people don't realize that some of this experience I'm talking about happens in flashes. It's like, remember when in what was the movie? Narnia? Remember in Narnia when they went into the closet and they had a whole lifetime in the closet? And then when they came back out in this world, they'd only been gone for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And that's how these experiences will. That's how these experiences come. Like in my experience, shapeshifting into Jaguar, it was a whole life experience. And so, time out here, I couldn't say. But some of these things, it's like even meditating, some of these things come so fast that if you really, because a lot of times when people start meditating, they're still, their mind's not clear. Like something that you could really miss, especially like if you haven't meditated with a crystal, as soon as you close your eyes, some crystals will connect. But it can be so quick that if you're not, because the crystal's eager that you're working with it. And so when you close your eyes, the crystal starts saying hello. But what happens is if you don't recognize it, then the crystal's not going to fully connect to you because you're still not really aware. And again, it might give you a couple chances, but if you're not picking up on it, you're not aware that it's saying hello to you, then you'll miss the full energy that it can give you in a given time. And other times, it comes in a little slower. And so no one's experience, two people, is going to be the same. Well, I guess, yeah, if you meditate at the same place, you could. Lorenzo, just like I learned about history and indigenous spirituality from, I am just a vessel, and that's spreading the word and giving out the information. Hear, 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 hear. I plan to get back into my boxing workout and weightlifting. Yeah. The lion, the witch, and the wardrobe. Asian, the wise lion having the breach of life. The lion is the panther family. But there's, it's so many things that people can tap into spiritually. It's not just like a one thing. Dang, I lost my place that I wanted to keep. What is this? Is it still working? Oh, this is some BS from years ago. And so you just have to find out whatever your sensation is. I should get my big book out again and go over all the different sensitivities that people could have. That's what's funny. The movies want to say that if you got any kind of powers, it's mutants, and it's not. It's natural. We all have something. Like what do they say about women? All women have intuition. That's just important to keep too. If they some kind of way, no. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't see up here. I'm sorry. We'll get it. Appreciate that. I'm just a vessel, just learning. I go to agree with everything. I don't agree with everything with Zach on gematria, but he's one of the first that I came across and learned from. Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. Yep. Yep. I mean, I go back, man, I met Zach before I met Sly. I met Zach, must have been the summer of 16. Yeah, I think that's when he first did his show, was the summer of 16. And that was the first time me coming, well, that's on Truth Radio. So, you'd have to call in to Truth Radio. That's what he used to do. I don't know if, if his channel's still up or not. Maybe taking his stuff down. Which is interesting. The best video I ever did is he shared of mine. I got over 100,000 views. That was the best that, of some work I did that someone shared. But when they took down his stuff, they took that down. So, but, it's everybody pitching in. Because, that young man driving across the country and trying to, put this information out is it's the right thing in some ways. Like I was saying last night, what really should have happened is, the people should have went to shut the government down. All the people, not just a handful of picked agents. All the people in America should have headed to D.C. And that's how a true change would have happened. I mean, the whole country tried to fit into that 10 miles. That is really what should have happened. And that's where real change could have happened. Because the people started demanding, less going out and more putting into America. I mean, there's no justification right now for sending taxpayer money to Ukraine. After what the country just went through. Then they say, the debt ceiling and all this and the government spending, but that was ridiculous to send any money over there. Democrats used to be the Democrats have always been warmongers. And the Democrats were the Klans. And the Democrats are still supporting a Dixiecrat. That's a fact. The Democrats are still supporting a Dixiecrat, and that's what Biden is. He's the last of the Dixiecrats, the last of the filibuster lovers. Oh, Sly and I are fellow students of Bobby. I mean, Bobby was cool. Bobby made some good points. My brother's feeling is that, Bobby was putting out so much that he was physically attacked. But if you looked at his lifestyle, I mean, he had a lifestyle. He didn't live a healthy lifestyle. You could look at him, And so that kind of happens. You travel a lot. You don't get, enough rest. Don't rest in your own house, your own place because you're traveling. That can take a lot out of people. Not eating right. That's the biggest thing sometimes when you travel. And again, you could see the way he was traveling. He wasn't really making great bread. So, like when you're making great bread, you can really eat good when you travel. You stay in nice places, but when you're making mediocre bread, you ain't eating good. You ain't really staying in great places that's got good food. So, but yeah, it's a lot of work Bobby put out that was positive. Even the other guy, the other guy that Panic, is that his name? He was interesting to a point. I saw some folly in what he was saying, though, that I knew wasn't real. And then he made up a story about a spiritual thing with this thing I knew the story wasn't real. And, like, what do you say about that? This person says he has a spiritual encounter with an individual when you know the story ain't real. So what encounter did you really have? And so that was the thing when listening to him that turned me off. Because again, some people say their spiritual encounters is something popular. And I think what he was saying was Trayvon Martin. He had a spiritual encounter with him. And we know that was a fake event. So how could you have a spiritual encounter with something that was totally fake? I mean, it's real. It was real and fake at the same time. There were two men out there wrestling. But all what we saw afterwards was not the same thing. Malcolm X said a few days before his death, to our elders, don't vote Democrat. When he died, that obviously went on deaf ears. Oh, of course. Of course. I mean, King saw that he was used. He saw that instead of us spending money in our neighborhoods and not having to ask for our neighborhoods to be fixed up, if we kept money in stores in our neighborhoods, then we didn't need the government that often. The government could stay hands off because we're running our neighborhoods the way we're supposed to. We're collecting up taxes, paying them their taxes, collecting up taxes, and we're taking care of our own neighborhood and our own city. That's how it should be. Or your own neighborhood. Money should stay in the neighborhood. That's what all these others do. They don't let the money go out of their neighborhood. They spend it with each other. What was I watching? Somebody, a folly they said. What did they say? How did they put that? They said Asian folks will hire their own people even though their own people is not best for the job. And how did they put it? That but the mistakes they made is acceptable because it's their own people. So even though they did not get the best person for the job, they still got their people in the position. And to them, that's more important than getting the right qualified person. To them and a lot of these other people, it was more important for them to hire their own people.
For what he has, he says that the only way that we can solve our problem is to unite together among ourselves, among our own kind, clean ourselves up, rid ourselves of the evils that we've become addicted to here in this society, and try and...
That's it. That's it. Democrats. Demon crates, yes. My favorite video by Brother Panic is called Understanding Your Genetic Alchemy, and the other one called Understanding Evil. Oh, dig it. I'll tell you one thing that he did say that's real, that I was able to experience, is he was talking about performers. And someone had asked him a question about performers, and he said, someone had tapped into a performer's energy. And he was like, did you ever get them to perform for you? Because he was saying that he was tapped into some performers and actually got them to perform for him. And interestingly or not, I have tapped into Jimi Hendrix a couple of times where I've actually seen Jimi Hendrix perform. And so that's something that he brought up that's like, oh, okay. So, and that's something that I've experienced that he brought up that's like, okay. And again, it's your, I think for me, more than anything else, when I was younger, was Jimi Hendrix music that opened my mind up. I think of all the things habits that I took as a young man, consistently listening to Jimi Hendrix music for 4 or 5 years. Having, I was a young man, had the posters all up in my dorm room. My first apartment still had the posters up, and listening to the music, mixing the music, mixing it. Putting Jimi Hendrix and George Clinton together back then. Jimi Hendrix, playing a long extended verse and having Richard Pryor come in and out. But it's the type of music that would open your mind up. I think a lot of the fog that we're put, that vibration really given at that time. And again, remember, all the music was, back then on the needle. So everything is either a tape or a record. Because I do think the first thing I bought was a double cassette. But then I started buying albums. And especially in North Carolina, it was a lot of his stuff down there. Because he had performed several times in Atlanta, in Greensboro at the Coliseum. So it's quite popular the whole 7 years I lived down there. So his stuff was everywhere. Even the bootleg stuff was everywhere. He's got one song called He's a Fox. What do he say? Some girls do it. Some girls can't, some girls can do it, and some girls can't because she's a fox now. But I heard somebody else say that lyric in another song recently. It's like, wow, that was Jimi Hendrix from She's a Fox. And that's a song I learned bootleg. Because they start off like some crooners. I think it's him with King Curtis. They start going, na, 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 woo. And then they kind of echo off each other, my baby. And the other guy goes, my baby. And then Jimi Hendrix starts, it's fine, and like that. So it's a song called She's a Fox. But you have to admit, Jimi Hendrix's sister or stepsister who controls his empire, she put her boot ass on everybody that bootlegged his work, and she controls it all, which is right, because he was the most, what they say, his contracts he had the worst contracts of any entertainer in the history of contracts. He literally had contracts that didn't pay him anything, so people took advantage of him. But he could play the guitar better than anybody. Well, but I don't trust Republicans as well. I mean, they're the same thing. Democrats and Republicans are the same thing. Even though you may hear them on TV going at each other when they call people, but remember, politicians, if you look at the way politicians argue, it's the same thing as big time wrestling. I mean, I've told this story many times before, is how I finally was able to prove to my first wife that wrestling was fake. We went to the Greensboro Coliseum, and after that, it was a Ponderosa on the way home, Lee Street or some shit. I lived on the other side, near A&T's campus, so Coliseum is on the other side of town, past UNCG, other side of town. And we go to the Ponderosa, and guess who's in the Ponderosa? The very wrestlers who had said they hated each other and wanted to kill each other. They are all, because I think back then you could get beer at Ponderosa. They're having beers, they're eating the buffet, they're getting steaks. And I looked at her and said, now you see what I mean? They don't hate each other. And that's the same with the politicians. They don't really hate each other like they try to show. They're one face of wicked. They're one face of excess. I mean, that's why when you get senators, you're going to get rich. You're going to be there for 6 years. You're not going to get as rich at being a congressperson because every 2 years you're rerunning. So you got to get your money every 2 years. Senator got 6 years to get all that bread. That's why it's a more prestigious position. And the senator has a little more power than the Congress people. Congress people deal with, certain areas that they want affected. Senator, the whole state. But it's made to get these people rich like that. The grift and all that. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's all entertainment. Absolutely. It's all entertainment. And I can't really, people have to understand I came from parents that survived the Depression, grandparents that survived the Depression. And I don't ever remember them saying, despite multiple wars, it seemed like civilization was getting worse and worse. I don't remember hearing them say any of this. Of course, my great-grandparents lived in the 1800s, born right after the Civil War. But I don't ever remember them saying it seemed like the times were just wicked times. I don't think I've ever felt that in my life before, where the times were so wicked and blatant as it is now. And we got a government that knows it's so wrong that it has to fence itself from the people because it knows it's so wrong that the people Ben should have been up there on those stairs, not letting them do their business. So that's why they put all that stuff, because now they're and what's good is, some ways it's good is because the government should be afraid of the people. And those fences up there is giving you kind of a thing that shows. I mean, why has the Democrats' agenda always been about the guns? Why do they just want to disarm America? Because we do have power as individuals. Doesn't matter if we have tanks and all that. We have the power of the right now, that we can affect things right now. Oh, how long have I been going? Oh, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Woo. 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 Ah. But you know, despite that, we still have to move on. We still have to find ways to find joy, be creative, be productive. Just like when Trump and Hillary had debates, attacking each other in the media and the campaign tours, as soon as election night, that they was in Trump Tower smiling, rubbing shoulders. Yeah, exactly. It's always been like that. And so we still have to be the strongest mentally, physically, and spiritually. I mean, it really doesn't matter what you eat. In the regard, if you look at this as cipher and it's not really real, it really doesn't matter what you eat. But the other part of that is where I think it matters, is because spiritually, there are things that is proven you eat and don't eat that will help you gain spiritual ability, however much you have. And that a healthy life, playing the sacred ball game. That's what I love about pickleball. I can play the sacred ball game. I teased some brothers today. I was like, will y'all let a 61-year-old man? He's like, man, if you want to play, come on up here. You can play with us. He's like, I'm 43, but if you want to play, he says, I think he said there's one other dude. A couple dudes that was older than him, but I was joking, not yet. I ain't really ready yet. Maybe one day. One day we'll be together. But because that's to me is my solstice, is on the sacred ball game, watching it. And I've said that, again, people with depression, ball fields are always there. Ball fields, a lot of ball fields were created for child loss. So how wouldn't a little league field be the perfect place to, deal with that grief, where it's nothing but children involved, in the innocence of the children playing the game. I mean, what did George Clinton say about music? Funk can move and remove. And that's the same way that the sacred ball game can do it. It can move and remove. And even as, Bishop Macbone has said, if you want to tap into this Jaguar energy, but the Jaguar energy is also offered in the sacred ball field as well. So if you could do something that's just simply as finding the nearest ball field or park, because a lot of parks have ball fields, and sit there and think about the Jaguar energy and see what will come up. See what sounds you hear, what sensations you feel. So these are just some ways to tap into things. Bishop Macbone, the holistic lifestyle is about full development of soul, mind, and body. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As I said before, when I drink beer, I can't meditate. Now, if I had one beer earlier in the day and this is hours later, yeah, it doesn't matter. But 2 or 3, no, it takes away from that. So it's like you can eat certain things, Like if you ate a bunch of chips and shit, you really think how, you putting all that grease and stuff in you. Even the meat. Even the meats we eat. Oh yeah, I've taken my medicine, so it's kicking in. That's good. But even the meats we eat, all the suffering that the things go through to provide us for these. It's a very parasitic way. I mean, one thing about being a vegan is still a parasite. You got to eat something else to survive. That's a parasite. And that's what we live in. Recommended book, Body, Mind, Mastery by Dan Millman. Nice. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. That's for Backbone, Lorenzo, PJ Allen, Key, and all the others. Thank you for hanging with me. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I guess I can knock out now. I'm kind of feeling it. Taking all those meds. Meds is like, ooh, I'm feeling mellow. I'm feeling relaxed. And I've been going on for almost 3 hours. So, tried not to cuss as much. Listen to C Over and Sly. I tried not to cuss as much. And yeah. And yeah. And yeah, that's a real thing. And yeah. I guess, most what I have to say for everybody is just take yourself to the next phase. That's how tuning comes. I mean, tuning isn't just tuning to make yourself feel better. Tuning is everything you do. Tune it to what you need. Like when I talk about time, and if you wear watches, it's so easy to control the time where you work. Because again, a business is like a entity. And once you tap into the way the business entity works, you can tune it to work in your favor. I used to know a guy that worked at General Motors. He worked at the Fisher Body plant. This guy had a apartment literally across the street from where he worked. Not only that, the trains, what he did all day, what he did is when he had to load chassis into trains or load other parts, and the trains only came twice a day. So he literally could load 3 or 4 trains in the morning. There's nothing for him to do. And by his union contract, he didn't have to stay there. He could literally go home, technically still be on the clock. And when the other late train came in, he'd come back to work and unload the train or load the train. Now, do you see how this man was able to manifest, control something that most people think is uncontrollable? Pomo, who I hope to see next month, once wrote a very beautiful thing about if anybody's ever been a machine operator of any type, made any product, you can get so good at it, person from the outside looking, they don't know where the machine starts or where the human starts. Because they don't know, people looking at it can look at, this thing is, with the human, is so efficient. We don't know if it's efficient because of the machine or it's the person. Can you follow that thought? You become so, you become so, it's like you almost become one with the machine sometimes. You can tune it to your rhythm. If you like what you're doing and, you can almost make that machine be part of what you're trying to manifest. You tune the machine I mean, just think if you on just to give you a easy example, take a punch press, and you just, and you know the sound of everything when it comes down, when it goes up, when it cycles, and if you make the machine do what its peak's supposed to do, the machine becomes very efficient. And again, they don't know why is it efficient? Is it the person or the machine? And so we all have different jobs. So I'm just using that as just an example of continuation. So whatever you do, you can tune it. That's why I say, a simple thing is make the clock at work be your time. For those of you that have got to clock in at a certain time, I know y'all all ain't bosses out there. Some of y'all still got to clock in. But you can literally tune that to your time. And you can tune while you move. Driving is one of the easiest ways to tune. You can tune it where you make all the lights. If you're vibrating high enough, because that's just tuning. Because sometimes you don't need to make all the lights too. Sometimes the timing doesn't want you to make all the lights. And you don't take that as wasting your time. You take that as, okay, this is a message. It doesn't need me to move through. Because the timing, it needs me to move slower. But yet the time when I get to work is when I get to work. I'm on my time. So I guess I'm going to close it. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys very much. I really do. I really do. But I can't do no more. But we've been talking about animals. Let me give an animal card out for tomorrow. All right. Let's see here. Whoops. Oh, no, I still need that. No, not there. I need this. All right here. Maybe this is the best. All right. This will be. All right. Woo. This one might take me a second to find. The insects are together. Let's see if I can just look it up here. Back here. Oh, okay. I'll find it back here. goodness. Okay, here it is. Here we go. And so this is what I'm giving you for my divination for tomorrow or today. The dragonfly. Dragonfly and damselflies are very ancient. We estimate they've been around for 180 million years. They have beautiful jewel-like coloring. The bright colors take time to develop, reflecting the idea with the maturity of our own true colors come forth. This is part of the dragonfly medicine. For many, it is difficult to tell the difference between the dragonfly and a damselfly. Dragonflies have broad bodies and enormous eyes. Damselflies are more slender and delicate. When dragonflies are at rest, they hold their wings out like a glider. Damselflies will fold their wings over their backs when at rest. Dragonflies will often eat while in flight. Damselflies land before eating. Both are known for their fast flight and their dazzling aerial feats, as if impossible, imitating how light itself can be moved and directed. They twist, turn, and change directions at an instant, hover, move up and down, and even fly backwards. Dragonflies are sometimes known as mosquito hawks. Both the damsels and dragons are excellent hunters of flying insects. They can fly at speeds up to 30 miles an hour, and their eyes help spot flying insects. They can spot movement 40 feet away, and they use their sharp, spindly legs and straw jaws to capture their energies. If a dragonfly shows up in your life, you may need some fresh air in regard to something emotional. You may need to gain a new perspective or make a change. Even if it may indicate that you are neglecting your emotions, are you being too rational about everything? Are you not keeping the color of emotions alive? Dragonflies are very territorial. They will lay their eggs with territory near the water. The eggs eventually develop the nymph stage of metamorphosis, and the insect remains a nymph for almost 2 years before it transmits into adults. Did not know that. They reflect the number of possibilities for those in this totem. It can indicate that approximately 2-year period of change is about to reach the culmination. The fact that you are coming to a 2-year period of transformation may even reflect a need to institute changes that may culminate to the colorful transformation you desire. Their main predators are frogs and birds. Particularly the frogs should be studied by those with this totem. Examine this information found in the last chapter. This is the realm of light, and they are only out during the day, as they are cold-blooded. Summer is their most powerful time, as they need the warmth and the light for the sun. For those with a totem, it would be important to consider spending time outside the sun near the fresh water sources would be beneficial for restoring changing health conditions for those with this totem. And the second part, dragonfly medicine is of the dreamline and the illusionary facade we accept as physical reality. The increscence, iridescence of dragonflies' wings reminds us of a color not found in our everyday experience. Dragonflies' shifting of color, energy, form, and movement explodes into the mind of the observer, bringing vague memories of a time or place where magic reigned. Some legends say that dragonflies were once dragons, that dragons had the scales like dragonfly wings. Dragons were full of wisdom and flew through the night, bringing light with its fiery breath. The breath of the dragon brought forth the art of magic and the illusion of changing form. The dragon got caught in its facade. Kaido tricked dragon into changing form, and the shape of its new body became the dragonfly. And accepting the challenge to prove its power, magical power, dragon lost its power. Dragonfly is the essence of the winds of change, the message of wisdom and enlightenment, and the communication from the elemental world. This element is made up of tiny spirits of plants and the elements of the earth, fire, and water. In essence, this world is full of nature spirits. If the dragonfly flies into your car today, you may have forgotten to water your plants. On another level, you may need to give thanks to the food you eat for sustaining your body. The psychological level, it may be time to break down the illusion you have held that restricts your actions or ideas. Dragonfly medicine always beckons you to seek out the parts of your habits which you need to change. Have you put too much weight on, or have you started to look like a scarecrow? Have you tended the change you wanted to make in your life? So, this is my gift to everyone for coming. Hope that radiates with someone. Give you a little bit of that understanding. You know, if you didn't quite understand it, listen to me again. And maybe some key words that I said might apply to you and the dragonfly. So for tomorrow, I give out the spirit totem. Of the dragonfly. That must have had a lot of energy. The books jumping around. Nothing was hurt. Where am I at? 3 hours now? My goodness. I'll be getting down. So that's what I give to y'all. And in closing,
and the fans, they're there for entertainment.
I ain't supposed to run it back. And what about it? Wait. No, Corey Holcomb. No. We do not want to hear you. What? What was that? What? 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 Get up! Get up! That's right. Get on up, y'all. Get on up. Go meditate. Spend some time for yourself. And thank you for sitting here with old elder. Thank you for sitting here with an elder. May all of you find